Hello, and welcome to another Silver Screen Filmmakers Club workshop. We are glad you are joining us today. The information provided to you today is brought to you by the Stage Incubator, along with our sponsor, the Indiana Arts Commission. This is also brought to you in partnership with the Center for Urban and Regional Excellence at Indiana University Northwest and Folk Art, the Volunteers Office for Community Accessibility Resources and Training. All right, well, welcome back, Silver Screen Filmmakers, and welcome to another module. This week's lessons are all from Module 4, and it's going to be sort of like a double take, but everything sort of builds off of each other. So let's get started and jump right in. So this module is Module 4, Developing a Concept for a Short Film Lesson. So this module will guide you through the creative process of developing a concept for a short film. Now, by the end of this module and all of its lessons, you will have hopefully a stronger foundation in being able to generate ideas and refine them, constructing a compelling logline, outlining the plot using what we call a 3-act structure, and creating detailed characters, dynamic characters, for lack of better terms, and translating that into your movie poster for your final project. So, definitely listen. I know that there are some that know what they want to do for their movie, for their film, and some that are still trying to figure out what direction they want to take. Well, this is going to give you the basic framework, even if you know what you're going to do, to flesh out some things. So hopefully this lesson will be the start of really trying to get your brain to work and flesh out those things so we can get a more clearer picture of what we want for our movie poster as well as for your movie or your film that you will be actually filming in the second part of the class. Okay, so I know this is old hack, but thank you for joining me. Of course, my name is Gretchen Sip, and I'm your facilitator for this digital literacy series. And of course, our main focus is utilizing Canva to be able to create our movie poster for our film. So as we're going through, I'm of course teaching you about different things dealing with graphic design and the basic principles and essentials that you need to know. But also, we're utilizing Canva to be able to bring these visions to life, bring these lessons to life. And so hopefully you're having fun playing around in Canva. Now, this week is action packed. We have a lot of lessons that are actually going to be dropped this week. Now, even though there are a lot of lessons that are going to be pushed out this week, they're not all required for this week. I just want to be able to give you the opportunity to, number one, be able to look at the videos, learn the information. If you have questions, you can present them to me and we can see if we can get them answered for you. But I want you to have all the tools that you need to really be able to create that movie poster for your film. And I also want you to be confident in knowing at least what direction your film is going in, whether it's a documentary, whether it is a drama, a comedy, whether it is an autobiography, whatever your film will be. I want you to be confident in the elements that are there. So this course and this lesson that we're going to talk about now is dealing with how to develop that concept, but we have a number of things on the agenda for this week. Some things will be dropped on Friday as we drop our regular lessons. Others will be dropped throughout the week. Of course, this lesson is all about developing a concept for a short film. But we also are we're going to do little mini lessons going into certain themes or themes within developing a concept for a short film, being brainstorming techniques, creating a log line, outlining the plot, developing characters. Just so you have a little bit more information to be able to flesh those things out. Another part is creating a basic outline for a movie poster and the elements of a movie poster. I'm going to walk you through what are the elements of a movie poster and then actually show you how to utilize your, you know, brainstorming techniques for that concept and translate them into a basic outline for that movie poster. We also have color theory. That was one of our fundamental pieces that we are covering this week is color theory because it's so impactful in how you develop your mood and the scenes that are will be a part of your movie and also your movie poster. And then we will have a mini lesson about moods in film, how color impacts that, psychology, the psychology of color, and how it impacts the moods in the film. Now, in some of these different lessons as well, there will be handouts that I will drop into our modules on Moodle, and you'll be able to download them as you need. All right. So, welcome to today's lesson on developing a concept for a short film. Now, a strong concept is the foundation of any great film. And today we're going to explore a couple of things. One being, of course, the overview of the creative process, but then brainstorming, how we'll explore how to brainstorm ideas, how to create a great log line, outline the plot of your film, and develop your characters. Now, I'm trying to keep, these lessons. I don't want them to be too long. I want them to be in nice chunks where you can get the information and be able to chew on it and meditate on it and then go on to the next. So, hopefully I can keep these lessons at a good pace for you. But I want to give you this lesson here is all about giving you sort of the high level overview. All right. So, we have our overview of the creative process. Now, the creative process, especially in what we're talking about, is all about how we want to be creative in film and in dealing with the evolution of ideas. Think about a concept. A concept usually starts with an idea, right? All right. So, every great film begins with, for lack of better terms, a spark, right? An idea that incites and inspires someone. And this idea is just that starting point, right? So, through a process of brainstorming, refining, and structuring, this initial concept can evolve into a full fledged short film. Now, a short film is any film that's under 20 minutes, right? And as our other facilitator will come along, she will give you sort of those requirements of how long the film needs to be. But essentially, we're looking to, really refine and structure that initial concept. Now, in this module, we will explore this creative journey in detail, starting with how to generate and refine your ideas. Are you ready? All right, so let's jump into just, I want you to just get your mind thinking about, some classic movies and things that you've seen. Now, think of the classic film E.T., right? The extraterrestrial. Now, it started with a simple idea, and that is, a boy befriending an alien, right? A simple idea that went through a creative process that was expanded into a film with memorable characters and, of course, a storyline that we all remember, that we all were touched by, and that we all really sort of do. That's part of our like memory. That's part of our life footprint. When someone mentions ET, it's very few people that you come across that don't know the movie at all. We all sort of know that storyline, right? But it was a basic concept. A boy befriends an alien, you know? So these epic films, whether large or small, start with just an idea. So let's get started. In this lesson, we will just provide a high level overview of three methods that you can use to generate and organize your ideas using brainstorming techniques. Now, this is the first part of how we go into developing a concept. Okay, so we have brainstorming techniques. We're going to talk about three different, sort of techniques, not in detail, just a high level overview. We will have many lessons on, the brainstorming techniques and go a little bit more into detail on what those examples look like and how to do them. But just to give you, sort of a high level overview, each of these techniques can help you to unlock your creativity and develop a strong concept. So let's look at mind mapping first, right? This technique involves visualizing your ideas and their connections. So, you sort of see here with my little picture here, you start with a central idea that's basically in the middle of the document, right? A central idea. And from there, you branch out with related concepts, whether those are characters or settings or even plot points. So those branch out from that center circle. Now, mind mapping helps you see the big picture and understand how different elements of your story interrelate. So I like the mind mapping concept because I am sort of a visual person. I like the mind mapping concept to sort of help me flesh out things. And, sometimes it's easy to do, when you have a big, poster board in front of you and you have little post-its and you can tab here and tab, put some post-its here and you can move them around as you need to. Now we're going to use Canva and I'm going to share with you a template that you'll be able to use to do your mind mapping. But we're going to practice a little bit on how to utilize a mind mapping template for our film. Next, we have free writing. Now, this technique is about letting your thoughts like flow through you without worrying about grammar, without worrying about structure. And how free writing usually works is, you give yourself 10, 15 minutes and you write continuously about your film idea. No stop, get it all out, just let it flow. Now, you don't stop to edit it, you don't stop to second guess yourself, you don't stop to spell check, you don't stop to, grammar check. You just utilize free writing and you let it help you overcome creative blocks. And with free writing, a lot of times you can discover some unexpected ideas. Now, you know, not to tell too much of my friend's business, but our other facilitator, Jess, this is what she does. So a lot of times she writes a lot of short stories, and actually, of course, she just got her short film in a film festival in Heartland, but she does a number of different films, documentaries, things of that nature. And part of what she does is she challenges herself every month to just write. And so even when she doesn't feel like it, she will challenge herself 15 minutes either every day or three times a week, 15 minutes to just write. And then by the end of the month, she'll put down her stats on post-it notes. She takes pictures of it. And when I tell you, it's so inspiring for me because it's like, just get started. It doesn't have to make sense right now. Just write. Doesn't need to make sense. Just get it out. Start getting it out. Believe me, it'll start to, form into something. For me, that is how I develop my courses. So I usually, I've done a lot of different, facilitations and trainings. But one of the first like corporate jobs I ever had was a friend of mine got wind that they can bring me into things, I can learn the process and come up with standard operating procedures. So I would go in, learn the process, and then regurgitate it to create their standard operating procedures, create their training modules. So I can learn anything, right? And I have learned a number of different things. Part of it has been because, hey, I didn't always have people around me to mentor me or have the time to mentor me. And so sometimes you got to learn things on your own. Sometimes people are how people are, and they tell you the wrong things of doing something. So when you've messed up enough, lost enough money, you learn to figure out things on your own, right? And so I've had to train myself on a lot of different things on my own as well. And so when it comes to creating, courses, creating workshops, I usually start off with a mind map. And if I get stuck, I'll do free writing. Just give me a few minutes. Let me just write what all I can out. And once I'll write for 15, 20 minutes. When I come back and read, and I'll take a break, maybe wash the dishes. I usually do something manual with my hands to get me out of my, mind a little bit. And when I come back to it, I start to see how the pieces fall together. So that's sort of the joy of free writing. It pushes you beyond, because I am definitely, a stickler for certain things. It pushes you beyond that and allows you to really get beyond those creative blocks and discover, you know, what you may have not known was there. Third technique is prompt based brainstorming. So now this method uses specific prompts to spark your creativity. Now, prompts can be questions, it could be scenarios, or even single words that inspire you to think in new directions. So, when given a prompt, how this usually works is someone gives you a prompt, it can either be, um, in a land far, far away, there was a young, a young handmaiden, and she was waiting by, and then dot, the ellipsis, dot, dot, dot. And it's up to you to finish the story, right? So when given a prompt, you can take a few minutes thinking about the prompt and then jot down any ideas that come to mind. Then choose the most interesting idea and expand about it. Okay? And that's prompt based. So those were the three different ways that we can brainstorm a concept. And again, with this lesson and for this week, I'm going to challenge you to start storming that concept so that we can really tune in to what we're going to make our movie film poster. Now, you need the concept, right? You need the idea, and then we go into what we call a log line. There's a film log line, movie log line, a log line, right? So a log line is a one sentence summary that captures the essence of your film. Now, it usually describes the protagonist, their goal, and the obstacle they must overcome. So, a good log line is clear, it's compelling, and it gives a sense of the film's tone and genre all in that one line. And I know you're like, how in the world? All in that one line. And I know you can probably think of movies right off the top of your head that when they advertised those movies, it was one line and you knew exactly what it was. So, some key elements when it comes to this long line is number one, the protagonist. Who is the main character? What is it that they want to achieve? What's the goal? That's another part of the elements of the log line. And then lastly, what's the obstacle? What stands in their way? Believe me, this is some of the structure. You can see it in any film, whether it's a documentary, even think about even advertisements. There's a problem to solve. You have a main subject, whether that main character is you or whether that is someone that's branded into that company, that marketing firm, that business. But you have that main character. There's a goal that they want to achieve, and there's an obstacle. It goes for so many different methods and so many different ways. So think about, you have, your protagonist, the main character, right? You have the goal, which is what they want, and you got the obstacle. So what's standing in their way? Like, think about Shawshank Redemption. I don't know how many of you remember the movie Shawshank Redemption, but you essentially had an innocent man, and that innocent man was sentenced to life in prison. And in that sentence, he formed an unlikely friendship while planning his escape. That's the log line. An innocent man sentenced to life in prison forms an unlikely friendship while planning his escape. Or think about this one. Think about this one. Jurassic Park, the log line. A pragmatic paleontologist visiting an almost complete theme park is tasked with protecting a couple of kids after a power failure causes the park's cloned dinosaurs to run loose. Or even another one. A young boy discovers he has magical powers and must save his school from the dark wizard. You see how quick, those sentences are? One of the things with log lines is you want to make sure that it's concise and that it's intriguing. You got one shot, one sentence. Keep it concise, keep it intriguing. Your log line is there to hook your audience and make them want to know more. Okay? So that's all about creating a log line. And there will be a separate mini lesson to go through log lines more and show more examples of what that looks like. Then we have outlining the plot. Outlining the plot. Now, what we're going to talk about when we have that mini lesson is, well, outlining the plot, we follow a three-act structure: setup, confrontation, resolution. Most films, in fact, follow that sort of three-act structure: setup, confrontation, resolution. Now, the setup, that introduces the characters, right? And the setting, and sets up the main conflict. So that's, introducing all your parties and the setting. Where are they at? Are they, in ancient Rome, or are they, you know, um, 20 years in the future? Are they in a cornfield in the Midwest? Where are they at? And what is the conflict? And then the confrontation, or the middle act, presents the obstacles and the challenges. That's what builds that sort of tension, right? That climax, right? And then the resolution ties up the story, resolving the conflict and hopefully leading to a satisfying conclusion. We know we hate those movies where it's not a satisfying conclusion. So, the importance of this is that there's a clear beginning, middle, and an end. Main thing you want to know when you're outlining the plot is that you use bullet points to outline key events in the story. This will help to sort of, give you a visual cue point of the overall structure at a glance. So whatever concept you come up with, whatever idea you come up with, you want to make sure there's a clear beginning, middle, and end. But how you do that is you outline those bullet points. You outline those key events in your stories using bullet points, right? It makes it easier. And if you're using a brainstorming technique like free writing, you're able to move those things around and play with them and see how they structure well. So, like, for example, think about the movie Star Wars, right? Star Wars, you have what was that? Star Wars, New Hope, right? So the setup is Luke Skywalker learns about the Rebel Alliance, right? Learns about the Rebel Alliance, and the confrontation is that Luke and his allies face challenges against the Empire. They're going against the Empire. So that climax builds up. Now, we all know the resolution for the most part if you watch Star Wars. But the resolution is that in that in that movie, in that saga, the Death Star is destroyed and the heroes triumph. That's the resolution. And we all actually be happy because we're like, oh my God. Okay, so that's how we want this sort of to build up. And it can be done. This is the thing. I don't want you to get caught up. I'm using popular films and movies just for ease of relatability. But this is essentially what happens in documentaries or autobiographies. In autobiographies, you are the protagonist. You are the protagonist. So in a documentary, it's you that is, the protagonist, and you that's going to come out as the hero. And so, what challenges have you faced? They could be people, they could be situations. What challenges? Where's the confrontation? Then presenting that turning point to get to the resolution. You want to keep those things in mind. Okay. Next, we have developing characters. So we talked about the log line. Of course, we talked about brainstorming, the log line, the outlining the plot. Now we're talking about the characters. The characters are really key in creating, your concept. Sometimes when you're looking at, film and movie posters, you get to see, they have an image of the character, on the film or on the film poster. So you sort of want to know if you want to include them or not, right? So a character profile is a comprehensive description of a character, including their physical attributes, background, personality traits, and more. So I also will have this will be something that I'll give you later on, in another lesson or in another module. You'll have access to. I'm building the template for you to do in-depth character profiles. So the mind map, you're going to use it to get your general concept down, get your settings. Some of the branches that will come off is the setting. Where is it where is this happening? The plot, what is actually going to happen? The characters, so if you who's your protagonist, who's your antagonist, who is some of the key people. And off of those things, for instance, you will have other branches. And those other branches will talk about, okay, well, you know, you have your protagonist, what is their characteristics? What is their background? How do they look? What is their age? Different things like that. So each element of this mind map can break out into other areas where you can really fine tune and dig into the depth of this film. Now, it helps writers to do these sort of character profiles. It helps them to develop a clear and consistent understanding of each character, making them more realistic and multidimensional. For instance, even if, say, for instance, it's not you in a film, it's an object. That object itself has a personality. That object itself, whether it's, say, for instance, it's a leaf blowing in the wind, a leaf that you caught one day falling out of a tree. Now, you used to see that leaf in that tree for years and years. It's an old tree, and that leaf, it comes back. The tree goes dormant, the leaves die, and then the leaf comes back, and you see it. And the film is all about life cycles, right? And so you capture this leaf, and it's first growing, it's like a bud, and then it grows into a full leaf, and it's a vibrant green leaf. And then the seasons come, the seasons change, and now it's starting to turn, and it goes from bright orange or red to orange to yellow, and then eventually it falls, and it travels a little red, and it falls, and you're tracking the film is catching the life cycle, of that leaf. And but you can give that leaf a personality. You can give that leaf flaws, so it doesn't matter if it's an inanimate object or if it's a person. You want to make sure that your audience identifies with them, even if it's a leaf. It's something that they capture from it. And you do that through the personification or the creation of this character and making sure that perfect characters are less interesting and less relatable. So you want to make sure that the character is not perfect and that they are relatable. They need to be dynamic. Know their motivations, know their strengths, know their weaknesses. What would be a weakness of a leaf? The wind, you know, the wind, squirrels, different things like that. All right. So, you know, like I said, we're going to dig a little bit more into developing characters. That is its own separate lesson. It is going to be a thick one. But in that lesson, we're going to talk about how to create detailed character profiles. Now, strong characters are essential to a compelling story. You want to have strong characters. And you start this whole process by creating detailed character profiles, including their backgrounds, their personality traits, what they like, what they dislike, what gets on their nerves, what makes them tweet, what is their physical appearance, what is their history, their family history, their experiences that have happened to shape them. This will help you understand your characters deeply and make them more relatable. So we want to make sure that you're capturing all of that when you do your character profiles. And this is a whole nother part of developing a concept for your film. Again, you want to understand their motivations, their strengths, and their weaknesses. If you know your character's motivations and strengths and weaknesses, it adds depth to the story. If you know what drives them to pursue their goals, what are their greatest strengths and flaws, these elements make the movie more interesting, but make the character more interesting. I've been to horrible movies, but I liked some of the characters in the movie, or I identified with the character in the movie. So keep those things in mind. Again, if it's autobiography and it's dealing with you, what are your flaws? What motivates you to keep going? What is your weakness? What stops you dead in your track? The other parts we talk about, you want to make sure that these characters are relatable. And so, you know, relatability is talking about how even, through situations that may happen around you, you're able to change and grow. These characters have to do the same. And when you create the story, because that's essentially what your movie, your film is about, is the story. Even if it's an advertisement, even if it's something you're using for advocacy work or for a nonprofit, it's a story. In fact, the best ones are a story. And those stories have dynamic characters. Whether they're children, whether they're adults, they have dynamic characters that face challenges that can test their values, their beliefs, but these things lead them to personal growth and change. So you want to make sure that you capture the evolution that makes these characters more engaging and memorable. So I'm going to use this movie a lot just because I am a Harry Potter fan. But think about Harry Potter. First thing that comes to mind, of course, well, a lot of people think, oh, uh, wizard, things of that nature. But Harry was an orphan. That's the thing. He was an orphan, right? So he's an orphan who discovers he's a wizard. Got a superpower. Now, his motivations include, of course, as an orphan, you think about it from an orphan's perspective, always wanting a place to belong. And so part of his motivations was including finding a sense of belonging, but also defeating evil. Now, his strengths, he was brave, he was loyal, he didn't give up. But, his weakness was that he was impulsive as all get out. And had he would jump before he thought. So, but that made him relatable. Sometimes what made me fuss at the screen because I was like, this is annoying. Pipe down here. But I mean, that's essentially too. Think about the age he was at. This is a young orphan teenage boy, and we essentially got to see him grow up. So, what characteristics he embodies? All right, so we covered quite a bit. To recap, we've learned how to brainstorm ideas. Want to make sure we brainstorm ideas. And then we create a log line from those brainstormed ideas. We create a log line, we outline a plot, and we develop characters for our short film. Now, remember, the strong concept is the foundation. It's the foundation. Now, I know we covered quite a bit, but again, this was a high level overview of how to do this. Stay tuned for more of our short videos that we will go a little bit more in depth into each subject or each topic here, but also be on the lookout for our different accompanying handouts that will help you along the way in this creative process. Now, if you have any questions, always feel free to send us an email, and we will try to definitely get back to you within 24 hours. You can also give us a call, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much again for attending, and stay tuned for the next video. Make sure you check out Moodle for any course updates. Thank you for joining. Well, I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for joining the Stage Incubator and viewing a part of our digital literacy series. We really appreciate you being here, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at thestageincubator@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Again, we want to thank our sponsors and our partners, the Indiana Arts Commission, the Center for Urban and Regional Excellence, and VOCART, the Volunteers Office for Community Accessibility, Resource, and Training. We hope to see you at our next session, and stay tuned for more things to come.